Welcome to New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast, the podcast for serious soccer players and their supporters to help further their development and navigate their way throughout their soccer careers. And now, here's your host, Matt Langone.
Welcome into another edition of The Goal Podcast. I'm Matt Doherty, joined today in studio by NESJ editor Matt Langone. Matt, how are you?
Good, Matt.
And we got a special guest joining us today, Frank Dell'Apa, contributor here at the Soccer Journal, also covers the Revolution for the Globe, and we're going to do a little World Cup preview about a year away from it kicking off here in the U.S. So, Frank, thanks for joining us, and let's get into it.
Okay, great.
Well, Frank, I got one for you right off the bat here. So we're a year away, which is kind of crazy, considering there's going to be a World Cup in this country 1 year from now, the biggest sporting event in the world. So let's just kind of take the temperature of U.S. soccer right now. Where are we at, and how are you feeling about where U.S. soccer is at 1 year away from the World Cup?
Yeah, long ways to go. It looks like. I think the team and what they're going through, it's got a lot of stuff's got to get sorted out. It's kind of a new era, And first of all, U.S. hosting the U.S. doesn't have to qualify, so there's not that kind of growth process and weeding out, and that you see when a team's competing for something. And so there's just a ton of questions with this team. I think they'll be ready to go when the time comes. It's a hugely expanded field, so I don't think they could be placed in probably a favorable group. But there's still a long ways to go and a lot of stuff to be done.
Is there something you took out of last World Cup? I know the team had a lot of anticipation heading into that one. Was there some like how would you kind of summarize what happened in 22? Was it like, okay, positive and they can expand on that heading into this one, or what's kind of your takeaway from the last World Cup and what you thought kind of a couple years ago heading into 26?
Yeah, I thought expectations were kind of a little bit exaggerated for that team. I think the U.S. is a good team. Probably, players are playing at higher levels than ever. Probably the talent level might be better than ever. But as a team, I don't think they're quite in the same level as some of the other teams, which were a little more hungry or whatever, a little more together, and that's kind of a natural progression for the U.S. too, because players, as they get better, start having more club commitments. There are better clubs, so more is expected at those clubs. Also, that's where they're getting their paychecks. Now, these paychecks are now 7 figures and that sort of thing. In the past, that wasn't the case. So loyalty and, commitment to the national team, there was no question. That was like, the number one thing for a U.S. player. Now, they're being pulled and stretched by these other commitments. So, a lot of these guys, don't spend any time in the U.S. hardly at all. So it's a kind of an evolution, I would say. And, so it's a little bit hard to get a grip on what's going on there too. So, but again, the talent's there. So.
Frank, I noticed you said exaggerated expectations. We never do that in this country.
No.
We never exaggerate with things around here. But I do wonder, though, this might be a silly question, but do you feel like the fact that the World Cup will be in this country and there'll be all this hoopla around it and all these events and all this excitement, that it could almost mask a poor performance from the U.S. because it's going to be it's going to be such front and center to us that even if it's like, throw out 2 countries, Argentina and Brazil, and in a key match, we're going to be so excited to just have that in our home country. Do you almost feel like if U.S. gets bounced early or has a poor performance, we look past a little because it's right here and we're enjoying it? Or do you think it's even worse because they're in their home country having a bad performance?
No, I think what you said, Matt, is totally accurate. First, go back to 1994 when the World Cup was here. U.S. had no expectations at all. Got out of the first round. It was great.
Right.
And that was, so they really played 4 games, and then there was still 2 weeks left in the tournament. All the really important games were still on, and that tournament just blew up. It was great. Everybody was really into it, and the U.S. was long gone. So that could happen again. It's a different time. So, obviously the U.S. is expected to do better than that, but still, no, that could happen, and the U.S. could just just fall off the charts and still be a great tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get into more of the U.S. team, but first, like, you obviously have a strong pulse on soccer here in the States. Like, what do you think this World Cup's going to do for the sport in terms of growth here?
Yeah, that's a good question. 94, it was all, it's just a stark growth after that, because just a lot of people woke up to it. Investment, MLS came out of that. That was a pretty big project, still going 30 years later. At that time, there was hardly any investment in soccer in this country. So, it just took everything, took off. What we see now is a result of 1994. Basically, almost everything you see, all the investment, all the playing fields, all the new stadiums, 30 teams in MLS, you name it. So I think it's a better situation, I think, for young kids, for development. Those programs are a lot better. Facilities are so much better. That all came out of 94. Where this is going to take us, I don't know, because you're already, at a pretty good level. I don't really know where this would take us. I think there's a ton of investment now. Maybe there'll be more investment, but it won't be as noticeable, I don't think. I just don't know where it can go because there's so much investment in it now.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I know the championship match will be played in, New York will be considered the host site, but it's going to be, where the Jets and Giants play in Jersey for the championship match. But my kids were like, can we go to the championship match? I don't care who's playing. Can we just go, Dad? Can you get us in? Dad? I'm like, I don't know if I have that kind of pull to get you guys into.
You do, Matt.
I don't think I do, to get you into a championship World Cup match in New Jersey. But it goes to show you, I think there's excitement there. Forgetting about even just the USA and just what they are. Well, I think just the idea that the greatest soccer players in the world are going to be in this country and Mexico and Canada playing World Cup matches. I think that's generating a lot of excitement. But Frank, what do you think the vibe will be like in New England? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but New England's going to, our Foxborough is going to host 8 matches. Is that correct? Or is it 6 matches? It's one or the other, right?
I think it's, I'm going to say 7.
Yeah, 7. So right in the middle of what but in that vicinity.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the vibe will be in Foxborough? And just, I know the World Cup coins this as Boston is the home site, which is, everyone knows Boston's not really near Foxborough. But what do you think? Close enough. I always laugh, in these NFL games where they show the.
It's also like the Meadowlands.
Yeah, the view of the view of like City. Boston Commons, but like games being played in Foxborough. But what do you think that the scene will be like in Foxborough, Frank? What do you think the excitement level will be around this area when the World Cup's here?
Yeah, no, the World Cup's bigger than any sport in the U.S. It's bigger than the U.S. It's it's the whole world. It's watching. The numbers on this are the whatever billions watch it. I don't know. The world kind of just stops. Everybody watches. They pay attention. So the vibe will be like unlike anything we've ever seen for any sporting event. It was like that in '94. You just couldn't describe it. You just go out there, and it wasn't Foxborough. It really wasn't, but it was like it was like something we had transported to Foxborough, and that was the old stadium too. It was kind of funky.
That's right.
And it was like the whole world was kind of there, and it was just at a different level. One difference, though, I got to point out was that the ticket prices in those days were really reasonable. And, you could get in to watch any game. You could have brought your kids, the whole family, whatever, the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now, I think the prices are just out of sight. And for the elimination games, so Foxborough will get, I think it's 4 or 5 first-round games. Then they'll get right through the quarterfinals. Those tickets are really going to be almost inaccessible. But saying that, it's like that for every sport. So this will be no different.
Yeah, we'll get in, right? Media pass.
We better. Yeah, we got. Frank will get in. Frank's a known commodity. I'm hoping
you're covering it, right?
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah, I should be.
Yeah, I'm hoping the scrubs like us get in. Maybe we'll save some.
We can find an angle like Argentina, New England. There's got to be something that connects. All right, I want to get into the U.S. team. Like kind of our listeners, like who are some players that over the last couple of years have sort of taken off and expect big World Cups in 26? Like, give me some names that come to mind of who the U.S. fans are going to get excited about during the World Cup?
Yeah, Christian Pulisic is still the best
Besides
player.
him.
Yeah, I guess locally, Miles Robinson looks like he's making a really good comeback in Cincinnati. He might get a European contract before the World Cup.
Wow.
It's sort of been the plan here. I think he's only at Cincy for a year, but see, you just got to stay healthy. Miles is, that's a big part of the team. A guy like that, a guy that really wants to play, for the national team, really committed, that sort of thing. Extremely good athlete, all that stuff. Reads the game. Was going along great until he blew out his knee. So that's a big one right there. Timmy Weah, all these guys. Weston McKennie is really good. These guys are playing in Italy in Serie A. That never happened before. Back,
Right.
say I'm going to go ancient history on you guys one more time. In '94, Alexis Lalas, ended up playing in Italy, one of the smaller teams in Serie A at Padova. And it was so unbelievable that was happening. He was like a rock star over there, but again, on a really, low level team. These guys are on the top teams like Juventus and Milan. So, it's a whole different world out there.
Yeah, Miles Robinson is a great name because Arlington, Mass. Native, local kid with great New England connections. So hopefully that pans out. Another one though is Patrick Agyemang, who you've talked about and written about. He played college soccer in New England. He's from New England. He's really seems to be elevating himself as a reliable goal producer for the U.S. Do you feel like he has staying power? Do you feel like he'll be an impact guy when that roster's set next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Matt got a hold of me. I don't know when it was, a few months ago. He says, "Hey, maybe we should do a story on this." Patrick Agyemang. I said, "Yeah, let's do that." So I really got into it. Had a good talk with him, and we got a good story in NESJ. And I think he's the real deal. I found out in the research for that story that he's a year ago he was getting let's say mid $4 or $5 million offers in England at that time, and so that's only going to continue. He's still scoring goals. He's really good. It's amazing. He kind of slipped under the radar on the way up, but I think he's going to be on the team. I think Pochettino, Mauricio, kind of saw him and really recognizes, this guy could really bring something different, and that's kind of what he says. This guy brings something different. Patrick has really good, I think, soccer like IQ and skills, but he's also, he's a big guy. He's very powerful, and he's a really good finisher. He can turn guys, hold the ball up, and he's really dangerous in the air. So, he scored 2 goals, I think, for Charlotte the other day. Headers, let's be about, not that long ago. And he's going to keep going. Yeah, that's a good one right there. I think he'll definitely be on the team and scoring goals.
Yeah, I feel like he has kind of that skill set in that persona that American soccer fans will really be delighted to watch because, like you said, he's great in the air. He's an electric goal producer. He's scored a couple goals already for the national team, so he's a guy that can create things. And I think with these local connections, that could be somebody around here that draws a lot of fan interest. I think in New England.
What do you think the ceiling is for them at the World Cup? Like, advance out of the group and lose in the round of 16? Do you think they could make it further than that? Like, what's the realistic ceiling?
Yeah, I think if they did that, that'd be great. I think it's kind of, the expanded World Cup now. There'll be like a round of 32, then a round of 16. So it's like,
oh wow, okay.
You get to the round of 32. That's like the round of 16. So it's really it's kind of it's a bloated World Cup by far. So if the U.S. played 5 games, that'd be great. Look at all these other teams are really good too. I think when the U.S. played the Dutch last time, and a lot of people, they went in that game. People think, oh, they could beat those guys. Well, the Dutch weren't really playing that well. The U.S. really wasn't at that level. There's a lot of teams that are better than the U.S. So that's just how it is. Everybody plays this game. Every country's got, a ton of really good players. You see all this talent all over the place. So it's competitive. I don't think there's nothing wrong with, losing to the Dutch in like the round of 16. That's pretty good, like we were talking about, maybe we get a little carried away with the U.S., but yeah, I would say that would be pretty good if they get to the round of 16. I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, I do think like if they don't, I'm on Twitter. I know that if they don't make it out of their group, they're gonna get some blowback. I think that's gonna be, social media will be buzzing for a week or two about kind of a letdown. I think that would be kind of a failure, right? If they don't advance out of the group. I mean, and you make a good point, right? Like they're not winning this, but I think there'd be some criticism if they don't win a couple games in advance. That's just, I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's become like a situation where they do need to take a step here, a visual step that everyone can see that shows that they're closing the gap with the rest of the, the world soccer powers. Because if we're ever going to make this thing take off in this country like we want to, they do have to show that they're not that far off. I mean, the rest of the world is caught up in basketball. I mean, look at what's happening. I mean, 7 straight NBA MVPs who weren't born in this country. So, I mean, like, the world is caught up in our sport. So we need to show in soccer that we're going to catch up, I think, too. And like Matt said, we're not going to win it. But don't you think, Frank, they do need to show some kind of positive progression here?
Yeah, maybe. But, I think they're showing it at the club level. If you got guys playing at Juventus and all these and, Milan and, playing in the Premier League, not that many guys in the Premier League, by the way, but, that shows progression, and how that translates to the national team, it's tricky, so.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah. I'm not sure we can, necessarily judge it by that. Of course, it's going to happen. Look at, and then saying that, we got guys in Serie A and all this. Look at Brazil's got like 1 million guys over there. It's not a big deal, for other countries.
It's just another player, yeah.
I think we are making progress, but there's a ways to go. It's so competitive out there.
I know. I think Frank, knowing that as a soccer aficionado is like, I feel like the casual sports fan though is like who wants to be like, all right, I'm gonna World Cup's here. I'm gonna give this a shot. And
if they make a run,
yeah,
too,
I kind of like soccer. I like bits and pieces of it. Might want to dive back in a little more. And if they see the U.S. get bounced and score 0 goals in their group matches or score 1 goal, like they got to at least score some goals too. They can't. I mean, that's been the U.S.'s MO. I feel like is we're athletic, we can defend, but like who's popping goals in? They got to score some goals in this World Cup, and they gotta have that electric excitement that they can generate.
Well, on the other side, like if they do make a run, like I think that's going to galvanize the country. That's going to be a major story, and it's going to. I mean, we talked about how can you grow it. Like if they made the quarters or something, like the whole country's going to be watching, and that's obviously going to be great for the sport. All right, who's our favorite a year out? Like who's winning this thing? I always have to look at the picture, but like 3 teams that who has the 3 best shots to win?
Yeah, I mean Argentina's like looking great. They qualified like already, way ahead of it. Japan was the first team to qualify, by the way, but Argentina was like 2nd or 3rd. They're just blowing through South America. They've got a really great team, obviously, and all those guys are just playing really well now, all on big teams. So Argentina, but traditionally the European teams, will all be good. Who emerges there? I mean, France has been in the finals like last 2 finals, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean 3, whatever it is. 4. I had to do it now. 4 of the last 6, I think, for France. So they're going to probably, they're loaded. I mean, there's so many good players. Italy always comes through. You never know. They didn't qualify for the last 2, but
I know. I don't know how that drives me crazy. It drives me crazy that they didn't. That's my team. Other U.S. and Italy are my teams, and they couldn't even qualify.
Yeah,
does England have a shot?
England, I don't think so, but and not that they're bad, but they talk about getting overrated, right? I mean, the expectations there get blown out of proportion.
Every year they have expectations. This is the year for England.
Didn't they make a deep run in the last World Cup? Didn't they make the semis or something?
Yeah. No, they're good. I would rate Spain over those guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, they're so good,
Right.
So I would say that France, Spain, whatever I said, those teams are going to, maybe Germany. Germany is really good, Germany trained here. It was kind of under the radar. Trained at Foxborough at Revolution.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was October or so a year ago. So we got an up close look at those guys. And part of the reason they trained there and came here is they were looking forward to 2026. They said, we're going to go to the U.S. now and kind of get us set up. You know, the Germans really plan ahead, you know, so that's what they were doing. And getting that close-up look, they beat the U.S. I forget the score in that game. They dominated that game. They're really, really good too. So yeah, so those are my teams right there.
Any
Brazil,
dark horses?
What's that?
Any dark horses, like countries that may not be known as a soccer powerhouse, but could come out of the blue or trending in the right direction per se?
Yeah, like Morocco last time. That Morocco
Right.
could be like that again because they came out of nowhere and nobody's going to expect them to do that much this time. But they could. Somebody like that, yeah. I can't think of anybody else, you know. But yeah, but Brazil, you know, Brazil is really going to be interesting too because they're really, really struggling. You know, 7 teams come out of South America, so out of 10, they'll qualify. But right, but the qualifying standards are kind of stretched out too. But Brazil's really struggling. But by hiring Carlo Ancelotti, you know, maybe they can spark and, you know, get in there and become a contender. They should be. They contend every World Cup. This time, people are just totally forgetting about them.
Yeah, I mean, and so much has to be decided. Like, you know, we're still a year out. We haven't even had the group draw yet. We don't know where teams will be playing. I mean, venues play a lot and say a lot for where you're going to be playing too. I mean, a lot of these venues are, you know, a little more posh, maybe a little more like, you don't have to deal with the elements as much. So,
Where do you guys think the U.S. games will be?
that's a great question. I would think probably in some of the more impressive venues, right? Right, Frank? Maybe like SoFi or something like. I mean, probably like some of the bigger. I would think, you know, because they're the home draw.
Not Foxborough. Right?
I can't imagine they. I mean, they're not going to get Foxborough. I can't. I mean, that would be, you know, that would actually be. I feel like an insult to American soccer if they were like, we're going to put you guys like in Fox. Like they're going to put them, I think, in the glorified markets that we have. I would think, but. I'll be interested to see who we do get in Foxborough though, because I mean it's going to be great no matter what, because fans travel and everyone's supporters will travel, so it's going to be awesome. But I mean, it's just I that's why I wanted to have Frank on. I was like, I can't believe this thing is a year away. Like I can't believe we're a year out. Like Frank said, it seems like a long time, but it's not really a long time. Like it's a year to put this whole thing together and then have the biggest sporting event in the world in our backyard.
Yeah, the time will start scrunching in too. Remember, it's also in Mexico and Canada. So where, like Matt says, where your team is based is a big factor.
Right.
There's going to be a ton of travel. You know, you'll be going from Canada down to Mexico City. It's,
Right.
Yeah, it's really tough for fans too, by the way. But for teams, you know how you're set up, it's going to be really important. U.S. probably, yeah, New York or the West Coast, you know,
Right.
It's probably, you know, but there's so many glamour teams that whoever comes to Foxborough, it'll be great.
Yep.
Are the group games all in one spot, or you could have one in New York and then L.A.?
Yeah, no. Well, they try to keep them regional, so
Yeah.
Foxborough should be paired up, I think, with like Toronto or something like that. So
Okay, so you're in
have
your
games like hopefully
pocket,
close
yeah.
by.
Gotcha.
Awesome. It's good stuff. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Frank, I'm sure we'll have you on 5 more times before then, but I'm glad we caught up on this today, though.
We can do every 3 months or every 4 months. Like, start previewing for it. No, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, thanks, Frank. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate all your insight, and yeah, good luck with the rest of the Rev season.
Good guys, great being on with you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank. Have a good one.
All right.
You've been listening to New England Soccer Journal's The Goal podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our podcast. Or visit anysoccerjournal.com/podcast. Siemens Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.